calendar. This thing is fun. So I've made a big splurge end of the year. Oh, for tax purposes. Got a new old computer. I think this might be 10 or 12 years old. It's less than 10 inches tall. About 10 inches deep and 2.5 inches thick, something like that. So the thinking here, this is going to use way less power than the big monster. I'm not going to run the video editing software on there for licensing reasons, because I'd have to transfer the license. And this doesn't have as good a graphics, I don't think, but it might work. But this is at least a generation newer than that one. That one is dual Xeon processor, which is just massive workhorse. However, it's only 2.3 or 2.4 gigahertz processor speed. This is 3.0. So it's not as fancy of a processor, but it's just a lot faster and newer. So it's going to have access to libraries and stuff that don't exist on the older stuff yet. So one of the things I'm looking to do probably is run video encoding so that I can make a compressed file to upload to YouTube. That'll work way better on this, I think. We'll see. But the other part, this has 8 gigs of RAM. Okay, I've got like 32 on that one, but whatever, right? It's got 8 gigs of RAM. My little Raspberry Pis have 1 gig of RAM, and they are constantly crashing because I'm always running out of processor. Okay. Also, this is like light years faster than those. I got this delivered for $65. Okay. I just want to point that out. So if anybody's like, oh, what are you doing spending all your money? It's like, well, okay, $65. A Raspberry Pi, if you could buy them, is $35. Okay, so just kind of do the math on that. This is going to be way faster than that. This is actually faster than that. This uses very little power. Okay, it's got a 290 watt power supply, I think, if I remember right. So that's more than I expected it to be, but I haven't run the kilowatt on it yet, so I'll do a measurement on it later. But for now, I'm just kind of doing some testing. So it came with Windows 10. I'm not sure if it's activated. I don't see a Windows key on it anywhere. My plan is probably to run Linux on it, because I run Linux on almost everything. But if I can leave Windows on here, that's a possibility. I might set it up to dual boot between Linux and Windows. I prefer Linux, but there's a few things that I need Windows for. And if I'm just doing internet stuff, Windows is fine. I don't care. Okay. So what I'm thinking was set it up for, this will be my day-to-day computer. I lost it on the desk. So I'm not going to leave it exactly there, but instead of my day-to-day computer being one of the Raspberry Pis, if I can make this work on the power budget that I have available, I will use that for day-to-day instead of the Pi. That will free up. I've got 4 Raspberry Pis. I can put those on robots. Okay. So that's that part I'm really excited about. So instead of it being just using it for day-to-day web surfing and email and some stuff related to videos, I could use it for that. Also, with its 8 gigs of RAM and a really fast processor, I can do CAD on here. So all of the parts designs I could do on here instead of on one of my laptops, because 24-inch screen. Also, this is capable of running 2 monitors, so I could run 2 screens at once, which most people never get to do that. So I understand, if you've never seen dual screens in action, that doesn't really mean anything to you. But these two are running off of the big computer at the moment, or when one of the big computers is running. So being able to see both screens at the same time is huge. So you could be doing email on one screen and something on the other screen. Or, for instance, when I'm doing video editing, the video actually covers both screens. So I have just all that extra room. It's really nice. So I bought the adapters so I can hook it up to these monitors. And yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, let's see what else is going on. Oh, I had a couple USB Hey, look at that, we're up to date. Windows update completed. I had a couple Wi-Fi antennas, so I just stuck one in here, and it just right away, well, I had to type in the password, but it totally picked up the phone. So now I've got Wi-Fi on here. That's one of the things. For day-to-day stuff, one of the things that I'm looking to do, I'm wired here for Ethernet, but that doesn't get me on the internet. But if I set up Ethernet on this, I can access what's on the Pi through the Ethernet. That's what I'm used to doing. I used to be a networking technician. So if I can set it up in a way that, it's like, okay, if I don't need very much power, that makes a lot of sense. Also, when I start doing the robots, when I get past the current stage, I should be able to do Wi-Fi control at least a couple 100 feet. Because when I tested the little IP cameras, I was way down at the end of the driveway, so at least 200 feet. And I had good signal down to there. So I could drive, not all over the property, but a good chunk of the area here on Wi-Fi. So if I've got Wi-Fi working, there's my Wi-Fi router back in the hole. It's wired to here. I could run a wire from there to here, put this on that network, and then I could control the robot from here. Yay! So several of my computers don't have Wi-Fi. So that's not a big deal, but if at the same time, if I can get this on the internet through the phone, all the better. Yay! All right, I'm going to play on my computer. I just wanted to get a shot of this actually working right away. And it's just like, well, it's Windows came pre-installed, so that was good. It was a little bit of a slow boot getting it going, but now we're up and running. What else? Oh, this has USB 3. I know USB 3 has been around for at least 10 years. That computer does not have USB 3. The Raspberry Pis, these ones don't have USB 3. That came out on Pi 4. These are all Pi 3s. So I've got like external hard drives that are all USB 3, but I'm transferring files at USB 2 speed. That is a huge time crunch. And I'm moving big files for doing videos, so it's a big deal. So the other thing I got for that computer, I bought the same time I bought this, I've got a USB 3 card for that computer now. So I'll put it in later and make sure it works. So I can put files on an external drive and move them back and forth quickly, because I'm talking 3 or 4 projects was about 100 gigs of files. That takes quite a while to move. And the other thing I haven't tested yet, but this should have gigabit Ethernet. That is a gig Ethernet switch. So that means you can run things at 1,000 instead of at 100, so 10 times faster. It never quite works out that way. But the Pi 3 has gig Ethernet, although it's throttled a little bit, I think, if I remember right. So it's not going to be quite full speed, but it will work. So, but I can go from here to there at gig Ethernet speed, or put things on an external drive at USB 3 speed. So there's a few things for just kind of a workflow point of view that makes a huge difference. I deal with really big files quite a bit, so this is going to be huge. Yay! Oh, and it only weighed about 8 pounds, and being so small, it fit in my backpack, so I carried it home on the bicycle. Score! Yeah, anyway, anybody that cares, it's a Dell Optiplex 9020, 8 gigs of RAM. It came with a 320 gig hard drive. Yeah, and it's set up and running. 3 gigahertz processor. So, yay for that. It's a Core i5, so not the super fast one, but I think it's going to be just fantastic for what we're doing out here. And if it doesn't use as much power, that's one of the biggest things. There's times when I'm on that computer that I'm just constantly looking at my power situation. How much power am I burning? So if I can run this for, I'm hoping a quarter of the power that uses. So it's going to be more than the Pi, but it'll work faster, so I can get stuff done quicker. And I can do stuff like when I'm doing research on something. More RAM means I can open more pages without crashing the web browser. That is a constant problem right now with 1 gig on the Pi 3s. I'm struggling constantly. So it's like, okay, if I can do the things I'm used to doing and I can put stuff up on 2 screens so I can have, 3 or 4 things going at the same time. That's how I'm used to working. So I'm finally, after being out here for 5 years, starting to get up to where I think I should be in the first place. I've got more power available than I've ever had with, newer batteries and all the extra solar panels that Houston Firefox donated. Thank you very much. So it's like we're getting there. We're finally almost to where I should have been, or where I could have been 5 years ago when I left Austin. That's huge. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. We're still in the honeymoon phase. I'm waiting for something to just go wrong, but should be fine. Oh, last thing while I'm thinking of it. Yes, you could get a cheaper computer. My thought was, and this is the way I do it on most of the stuff I've got. The laptops I have, this, and the big one down there are all pro-grade Dell workstation type computers. So this isn't necessarily top of the line. However, this was made for industry. This was made for like an office setting with people that had 1,000 of these. Okay, this is pretty good quality stuff, and the fact that it's like, I think it's 10 years old and it still works fine, I'm completely okay with that. As opposed to getting the cheaper stuff that they sell at Walmart, and it's like, well, you get the thing from Walmart and it's good for 2 or 3 years. I buy something that's 10 years old and it'll still last me 5 years. That was off lease. I bought it over 5 years ago. It's still working fine. No problem at all. I replaced the battery that backs up the clock. That's the only thing I've had to do to it. And it's old enough it didn't have USB 3, so now I'm adding that. But that's it. It's just, rock solid, good to go. Knock the dirt out of it once in a while. No problem. Yeah, so you get good stuff that's old. This camera I'm shooting with is the same thing. Just look for a good one, and then go back a couple years, and you're good to go.